Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another 1/6 scale Star Wars figure unboxing and review. Today, we're taking a look at everyone's favourite cheeky little astromech, R2-D2. Specifically though, based off his appearance in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They have pay in 4 and a loyalty program. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, so you're notified as soon as a brand new review goes live on the channel. As for the box art, I was pretty surprised when I received this. R2-D2, he's a little guy, and this box is huge. It's actually bigger than a normal Hot Toys box. Did they sneak something special in there to fill up the rest of the packaging? I highly doubt it. We have an image of R2 front and center, Star Wars, and down below, his name. Plus a little logo for 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. Wow. On the side of the box, super boring. A grey triangle of sorts, a black one, Star Wars, and a Disney logo. On the back of the box, warnings and legal info, including a very prominent warning for button cell batteries. This, not the most exciting packaging out there. Underneath the slipcover, however, of this is more like it. The Kenner-inspired box art, chef's kiss. Beautiful. 20th anniversary Attack of the Clones again, in case you forgot. An open window with R2. See what I mean? He's tiny. What's the rest of this packaging for? An image of him, and this pop of red with his name. Super Kenner. Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and a foil sticker that once again lets you know 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones. You can flip open the front cover. That's what that space is for. All of R2's accessories. This cardboard, by the way, super thick and sturdy. On the side of the box, underneath that slipcover, Geonosis, a Star Wars logo, R2, and a read-up. Feel free to pause to read. Poor R2, look at him, he's all frazzled, all of his components, they're going everywhere. That same Star Wars Attack of the Clones logo, dig that red. Warnings and legal info down below. They are the same warnings and legal info from the slipcover. No need to read them twice, or at all really. I am pretty curious to compare this R2 to the previous two R2s. Hot Toys, they've made 3 in total now. We have the Force Awakens version, who is quite filthy. We have the original trilogy version, who actually comes with some different stuff as compared to this guy. Then this one, for the prequels. Will they be making any more R2s? Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. First in-hand impressions, he feels quite substantial, and he looks pretty good. What we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Starting off with the display base first. Wait a second, this is not a display base, it's a translucent plastic thing. And it doesn't even work well as a flying effect base. This text, it's printed as plain as day on the bottom, it shines right through. This is meant to cup R2-D2, so when you have the rockets on, it looks like he's flying. I count this more as an effect piece rather than a display base, which he should have come with. You see all this stuff laid out in front of us? This is a dream for a lot of collectors. Wow, so many accessories. For me, some people have nightmares about clowns. Others have nightmares about losing teeth. I have nightmares about this style of accessory segment. Infinite accessories, and you are never done. So I'm going to try and come up with a way to get this done without boring you, and without just prattling on forever. You do get these rocket boosters, they're brand new. You can remove this little thruster effect if you so choose, so he's just preparing to fire them up. There's some dirt and grime on the metallic silver sections and on the blue sections too. Then for these bottom pieces, they plug in to kinda make it look like his leg has split open. You'll see what I mean when we actually pop them on R2. By the way, I wasn't complaining saying that we have too many accessories. That is not a thing. It's just these small, spindly little bits and pieces and having a ton of them that freaks me out a little. This first arm, this is the hyperdrive manipulator, apparently. There's a little red wire on the top, there's this little spiky, and there's a metal rod. You can extend this up and down. Don't go too far, because it will pop out of this cylindrical section. It does attach via a magnet, there's a hinge at the bottom. My solution is rapid fire jump cut accessories. This one is his life form scanner, there's a satellite dish up top, it's made of metal, the rest of it is plastic. I particularly like this rib detail in the middle. R2 has a pizza cutter? No, it's not a pizza cutter, it's a little buzzsaw attachment. He uses this every now and then, mostly to cut himself out of nets, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. The buzzsaw attachment, the blade, is made of metal. There's a pattern on the surface that looks like a flag of some kind. Around the back, some red and silver. I have researched every single tool here. I know what most of them are. This one, it stumps me. I could not find any information about this one. If you know, let me know down below. The top is interesting. There's these little canisters. Some are red, most are silver. There are some wires, and the end is articulated. This one is a familiar sight. It's his taser. Instead of being magnetic where it connects, this one actually plugs in. Do be careful with the prongs and this little piece up on top and the bottom. All of this, it feels pretty fragile. This little sucker, this is the one that he uses most of the time. It's his Scomp Link. It plugs into the droid ports and he can open up doors and mess around with computers and do all sorts. You've got the dots on the surface, some yellow, some red, some rings that work their way around the main cylinder, which also happens to be painted in silver. Then down the bottom, a magnet. Something tells me R2 likes welding. He has 2 different welding torches. This one can actuate out on a metal rod with a hinge at the bottom and a magnet. There's some dry brushing on the surface. This one is the more interesting of the two. There's metallic silver, metallic blue, a pop of red, and a swivel at the bottom. Plus, this welding piece is made of metal. The final 2 arms. This one, quite clearly, is a clamp or a grabber. Same kind of attachment method with the gold arm in the middle. This one is another mystery. It's ribbed, and at the top, there's a little teeny tiny bit of silver paint on an otherwise black piece. It could be the hollow chess manipulator. I might be wrong. Alright, I guess that wasn't so bad. We do have 2 of these manipulator arms on multiple different joints, so you can move them around and articulate them. I more associate these kind of arms with Chopper rather than R2-D2. This is less so an accessory and more just part of R2 himself. It's the remote to control his lights and his sound effects. It happens to say Star Wars on the front, so you could pop this in front of the display effect base thing and have it as a nameplate. I've saved the best for last. It's C-3PO's head sculpt. Not only does it give us a sneak preview of what Hot Toys C-3PO is going to look like, it's also just a cheeky accessory. You can pop this suction cup on his head and have R2 dragging along C-3PO's head just like in the movie. The suction cup is mounted to a metal rod. It's super sturdy, so it's not going to flex and bend. Then the cup portion is actually fully detailed. Speaking of fully detailed, this finish is beautiful. I am so ready for that Attack of the Clones Hot Toys C-3PO. If it looks like this from head to toe, I'm all in. You also get a little bit of a feel for how the articulation is going to work. There's a ball joint at the bottom of this neck piece and at the top as well. His eye lights, super bright, and I was worried they weren't going to be, because there is only one LED shining through this middle portion. When you turn it off, does he look dead, is the question. Yeah, but also no. There's this real metal grate across the eyes, and you can make out the 3 dots. I still would have appreciated swap-out eyes. Having them light up does get the job done. And when the lights are on, there's no denying it looks better. What we are going to do now, though, is get R2-D2 himself out here. Standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. Bloody hell, that's R2-D2 alright. This is their 3rd attempt, and it is just as good, if not maybe even better, than the other 2 versions. The dome being metal always helps. It gives him that real heavy tactile feel like a mini droid in your hands. The body's the correct shape. He's got a lot of bits and pieces to attach and pop out components here and there. He's also quite dirty, which will be a sticking point for some, not others. You might really enjoy the dirty finish. Who knows? Some other companies have tried to make a 1/6 scale R2-D2. I don't think they've come even close to Hot Toys' worst attempt at their version of an R2-D2, which I think is the Force Awakens one. Spoiler alert for the comparison later on. Up close and personal, kicking things off with R2's dome. How this is going to work, it's going to be relatively straightforward. We're going to talk about his canister-shaped body, the sculpt work, the detail, the dome itself, the lights, the sounds, and then we'll get to all the other gimmicks, all the opening doors, all of the accessories, how everything works, and how you attach everything to R2-D2 himself. The dome is metal. You can tell it's metal because it's heavy, it also feels cold to the touch, and this finish with the brushwork and also the dirt and grime on the surface, it just looks super realistic. You can't fake this. Other companies have tried. They've made plastic domed R2s before, and I don't think they look anywhere near as good as the Hot Toys ones do. This metal dome, I've always said, and I stick by this, is worth the price of admission alone. There's this speckling of dirt and grime, which some people don't love. We'll get into that. There's some airbrush shading on the blue panels, and the sculpt work is really sharp. That's because some of these panels, they actually opened, so being separate pieces, they were always destined to be that sharp. His main central eye is the infrared receiver for the remote. If you're pointing this thing at R2 and he's not doing anything, just make sure you have the remote the right way round, so the receiver is facing towards R2. When you do push the R, that's what turns the LEDs both on and off. So the first mode is his hologram projector, front, top, and rear. Why does he have 3? I don't know. Then if you push it again, it'll turn all the rest of the LEDs on. This one is my favorite, although I really like these two. These little doohickeys with the dots in them, they blink across. Then around the back, this one also blinks across a little bit faster. This one goes yellow and green, and then the hologram projectors, they are still on. I do kind of wish they weren't though, just with the other LEDs on and not the hologram projectors. Not a deal breaker. Just something I think they could have added. After all, this is the 3rd time Hot Toys have given us an R2. They could have just added that one extra mode. No hologram projectors, the lights still blinking across, the multicolored ones, everything else turned on. Anyway, onto the body. It's cylindrical, just like R2 should be. It's quite dirty and grimy, just like that filth on the dome. The rest of him, especially towards the bottom, even dirtier. Some people were saying maybe a little bit too dirty. I get it, R2 does get cleaned up in the prequels, and I would have loved to have seen a crispy, pristine, brand new R2 as well. Having him dirty, on the other hand, it does open up some alternative display possibilities. You can have him as part of the Geonosis arena battle like he's supposed to be. That's what all this orangish sand is for. Or you can have him on Dagobah. Or you can have him on the sail barge. You can have multiple different display options for the same R2. You could even pick up multiple of the same R2 and have him in various different spots in the collection. Do I hate the dirt? No, not at all. Now, there is a lot of it. In the crevices, around the edges of things, there's speckling, and there are multiple layers of paint. You've got the smudged dirt across, that's supposed to be the Geonosis sand. And you also have some lighter speckling and just some straight up gashes and black marks. R2, he has quite clearly been through some shit. These little pieces on his main feet, I guess, they are rubbery hoses. Then on the underside, he's got some real rolling wheels. Can't wait to try them out. Then for his 3rd leg, you can push it and it extends out. It clicks in position really securely. To make sure that he's actually going to be flat in the display and all of the wheels are making contact, you will want to angle these back, then push these feet a little bit more forward, so it looks like it's creating a flat, level surface. Speaking of flat level surfaces, when you do that, oh yes, you can roll this bad boy around. I'm really excited. We're about to look at the gimmicks, starting off with my favorite one. I am a big child after all, the sound effects. A gimmick that I know a lot of people won't care about and probably won't use all that often. I just love the idea of them. It just makes him feel that little bit more alive. How you activate them? You push the W. Don't forget, point the remote towards R2. I'll be quiet now. That one is my absolute favorite. There are so many sounds here. I wasn't expecting anywhere near as many sounds as there are. They're all unique, and they're all, of course, from Star Wars. I haven't seen a ton of repetition. It takes you ages to click through and get back to the same sound effect you started with. I'm just mentally preparing myself to add more and more and more stuff to R2. I'll try not to take super long. I want to get to the point where he has everything attached. Starting off up top with the periscope. This one, super straightforward. You push it down, it will click, that's how you know it's worked, and then the periscope appears. It does have a little bit of posability left and right. They have included a tool, both for R2 and to open up the various panels. It's the Scomp Link. There's a magnet on the bottom, and in the panels, also a magnet. So when you want to open them up, it's a lot easier than trying to wedge your fingernail underneath and pry them up, and you won't do damage to the panels. Save yourself the hassle, use the frickin' Scomp Link. He does come with a lifeform scanner, and that just pegs in position. It feels a little bit fragile pushing it in there. Once it is in there though, it's pretty secure, and you can move it left and right. These panels on the base of the dome open up once again magnetically. On the underside, there's some sculpted and painted detail. There's dirt and grime in there. You can attach his manipulator arms magnetically. You do get two of them, one for either side. This is a really big panel. Look at all that sculpted detail. The arms themselves, they are on magnets, so you can move them up and down if you so choose, and multiple little hinges. You can pose them. You wouldn't actually tell because these sit in there so flush they look seamless. These blue manipulator arms, they can be pulled out as well. There is sculpted detail on the underside of the arms and also in the compartment. There's a little piston there, plus a wash in the crevices, so it looks oil stained and it doesn't look brand new. I am aware I'm not necessarily going in order I should be opening these panels, I want to save them. Let's look at this panel. You can open it up. Once again, I'm getting sick of saying sculpted detail, there is a lot of it. You can install two different arms. This one has the electro little taser attachment on the top of it. Then the other one is the buzzsaw. It just plugs in down below. Rather than going with magnets, they've actually gone with peg ports. So when you push these in, they are really, really secure. For the main door on the left side, you can of course open it up, as you would expect. So much sculpt work. Also very nicely detailed. We have three different magnetic positions. Up top, it's supposed to be for the Scomp Link. Then next up, you have one of his welding torches, which can actually actuate and hinge at the bottom. You can angle it if you so choose. This one can go in the middle, I guess. Then for the last one, which is also apparently a welding torch, R2-D2, why do you need so many welding torches? This one can go down the bottom. We'll angle it down ever so slightly just so the rest of the stuff does have room. There is a little bit of an Easter egg here. If you open up this panel, there aren't any attachments to go in. That's his charging port from Empire when Luke plugs him in on Dagobah. Doesn't actually work. You can't charge him up to power the LEDs or anything like that. It's just there to look cool and be a nice callback. Also, if you do have this open, it will block this door. So angle it forward so the door can actually clear it. Then you can open up this panel. And after you've done that, fold this one back open. Up top, in the highest position, we have the hyperdrive arm. Next up, we have the little grabbing arm. You might want to angle this bottom piece. We do have 4 different tools to go in this one compartment. It will get a touch tight in there. Next up, we have this unknown tool. Still not sure exactly what this is supposed to be. They will kind of collide with one another, but eventually they should play ball and sit where they're supposed to. As you can see, R2-D2, he now has a lot of parts and pieces sticking out of him. We're still not done. Around the back, this panel opens up. You slide it open, and that right there, that is your target, that absolutely microscopic peg port. You want to bring in C-3PO's head sculpt, like the eyes up, of course. Then you do want to try and slot this in, which is not easy to do on camera. It goes in a fair way, so when you have it in there, like with most of the other tools, yes, it is secure. This is prequel R2, after all. He did some pretty cool things with his rocket boosters. He flew a lot. He also absolutely incinerated those battle droids with the oil spill. You remove these panels, then I would suggest putting this bottom piece on first, just for ease of access. You'll see what I mean. Then you do plug in the top one. If you had saved this piece for last, like the instructions tell you, you would have been trying to contend with this little blue booster piece. You do have to do this on both sides. So, battle mode R2, usually when he has all of his stuff out, that's not a good sign. He's either been zapped or he's been bonked on the head or something, and all of his arms have gone everywhere, and he is absolutely screaming. So, I'm not going to display him like this. If you want to, you can. I would say though, just pick one of your favorite arms or maybe two of them and just go with that. For a comprehensive side-by-side comparison, I have arranged all of Hot Toys R2-D2s from cleanest on the left, being the original trilogy one, to filthiest on the far right, being the new Attack of the Clones version. I also left his lights on, just for a point of visual difference, so you know exactly which one's which. In the middle, that's Force Awakens. For me, if I'm sitting here trying to pick my favorite R2, Force Awakens is an immediate disqualification. His dome is die-cast and he is painted well. He's also the most medium dirty of the three. He can fit into multiple different displays. However, he has no gimmicks and no opening panels. The lights and the sounds, they don't count. So it's between original trilogy and the prequel one. With original trilogy, you get almost as many accessories as the new one, just minus the thrusters. He is cleaner. That's why, for me, he's the winner. I think original trilogy, if you're only going to have one R2-D2 in the collection, get that one. Then again, if you like the dirtier finish, say, for example, you're going to put him on Dagobah with the new DX Luke, or he's going to go in a Geonosis Arena display, the new one works perfectly for that. That dirty finish, it is well done. This is such an iconic pairing, C-3PO and R2-D2. Throughout the years, the various sagas and films and companies that have owned Star Wars, prequels, sequels, original trilogy, these two have always been together. They are iconic. We have the Bandai Tamashii Nations C-3PO in full diecast, might I add, and chrome gold. Then on the right, the new Hot Toys R2-D2. R2 is too filthy to be displayed with this C-3PO. You could just fudge it and just go with it anyway. I think that a cleaner R2 would suit this C-3PO a touch better, which is why Hot Toys designed a filthier C-3PO from Episode 2 where he had that hodgepodge looking armor and he was disgusting. Nevertheless, here's the Sideshow C-3PO. This guy will be replaced with the new upcoming Hot Toys Return of the Jedi one. For now, this is kind of the only readily available 1/6 scale C-3PO. If you want one that's relatively inexpensive, this is the one for you. How does this pairing work? I have no complaints. I would absolutely display these two together in the collection. There's no denying Star Wars, it did have a rough patch. There were a couple of years where people just fell out of love with the franchise. Even beloved characters like Luke Skywalker. Then enter Mandalorian Season 2, and we had an all-new version of Luke who arrived on scene, and from the moment we saw him, he kicked some serious butt, which led a lot of people to pick up the DX-23 Luke Skywalker as their definitive version of Luke Skywalker. Now they find themselves, though, wanting an R2-D2 to recreate that scene from Mandalorian Season 2. Can this R2 fill that void? Yeah, for sure. It's R2-D2, isn't it? He can definitely pose alongside Luke. Going over articulation, something tells me that this isn't going to take very long. Starting off with his dome, it's on a swivel, it goes the full 360. His torches are on ball joints, the front one, the top one, and the rear one as well. His main legs are on ratchets going forward and back, the feet are on hinges, then the middle foot also on a hinge. Moving on to the 3 cool and 3 annoying things. The first annoying thing is actually to do with the light up feature. You've got a couple of different modes. The first one is just the spotlights up the top, around the back, and around the front. Then the second is all the lights. Everything is turned on. Why is there not a third? Surely you understand, Hot Toys, that these little hologram projectors, they're not always on. I would have loved to have had all of the other LEDs on, just not the little hologram projectors. The second annoying thing for some people, certainly not me, for some, is the finish. He is very, very dirty. Don't forget, he's based off Attack of the Clones, specifically the arena battle scene on Geonosis. So he was dirty at that point. All of this orangish red dust, it makes sense. Geonosis is a very sandy world. Still, people wanted him cleaner. I understand. If you do want a clean R2, there are other options. The third annoying thing is Hot Toys. Come on, you definitely can give R2 a display base. C-3PO is coming with one, so this guy, he isn't going to match C-3PO. Just think about it from a pure height perspective. Having R2 on a base, it makes sense, because with C-3PO on his base, he's going to be significantly taller. Where is R2 supposed to go? Just on the floor, randomly next to C-3PO? I don't think so. In the future, you can absolutely give R2 a base. Look, he fits on it. The first cool thing, even though he is based off the prequels, he doesn't have to be. The R2 mold is identical to the original trilogy one. So, with that being said, up top, oh yes, this panel, it still opens and you can fit Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber inside. Still that same spring-loaded mechanism, however, lightsaber is not included. It's BYO Luke's Return of the Jedi lightsaber. The second cool thing, I love the sound effects. It's a gimmick, it's cheesy, I am aware, I totally understand. I don't care, there is something so magical about holding a metal dome R2, it feels like the real thing, the lights are going, then you push the button and you get the sound effects as well. I could do that all day long. The third cool thing is C-3PO's head sculpt. Bloody hell, those lights are bright. They are very, very sharp in person. When you turn them off, it still looks good. It's a sneak preview of what the Hot Toys C-3PO is going to look like in hand. It's also just a cheeky accessory, having R2 just dragging around C-3PO's head sculpt. It's never not going to be funny. For a bonus cool thing, I don't really count this as a proper main cool thing, you get a poster as part of the instructions once again, and it's a different poster as compared to the rest of the Attack of the Clones figures. Still, Hot Toys, quit teasing us, we need this Obi-Wan. Wrapping up on Hot Toys, R2-D2. I'm happy. There's not really much else to say. This guy, he looks like R2-D2. He's got a metal dome, so he feels like a shrunk down metal R2-D2, kinda heavy, like a mini droid in your hands. He's got all the bits and pieces you could ever want, a ton of functionality with the lights and sound effects, which makes him feel even more alive than just having that metal dome could. And the finish is nice, if you like a weathered R2-D2. If you're sitting here thinking, no, he's too dirty for me, don't get this one. You have two other R2-D2s to choose from. This is the filthiest one they've made. It's also the coolest because it has all the accessories and the jet boosters and the flight stand and the lights and the sounds, but it won't be for everyone. If clean is the way you want to go, you have two other options. Either the Bandai one, which is full metal and very, very heavy, also kind of expensive, or the original trilogy Hot Toys R2, who is getting up there in price as well. If you don't care about the way he looks, you actually like the dirty finish, get this one. This is still one of the best 1/6 scale R2-D2s ever made by any company. R2-D2, it seems, agrees with me. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is in the description below. They do have Pay in 4 and a loyalty program. While you're down there, why not hit that subscribe, bell notification icon, and join button, if you like the sound of seeing your name in the end credits of my reviews. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.